Oh, yes, and welcome
Hello and
to
welcome to
Irish.
Irish Football.
uh,
Hello and welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. It's Gary Spain here, and I'm joined by Ger Brown for the live watch along for Republic of Ireland v Wales. And well, Ger, what are your thoughts on the game?
Well, yeah, Gary, I hope you're keeping well. It's nice to see you back from your trip to Slovakia. Obviously, disappointment on Thursday night. Yeah, it's been a crazy few days, I suppose. Craziness is never far away when you associate with the FAI. I suppose it's hard to be thinking about a football match when Thursday night is so raw, only 3 days on. But that's just the nature of this international window. Games going thick and fast. And look, say it's an important game. I know the Nations League campaign, it's looking quite bleak for us with only 1 point from 2 games. But, it is quite important for them World Cup seedings that if we, don't finish top of the group, that we can at least finish second, and hopefully that can favour our seeding, or, by finishing second, and say if Wales or Finland go on to top the group, if they qualify automatically from their group for the World Cup, we can fall into a playoff. So sometimes to have a game of football for a player's point of view is good. It's quick. It can take their minds off Thursday night. But as you know yourself, over the last 24 hours, there's just been so much controversy off the pitch surrounding this game.
Yeah, and even the controversy today with where we've down 5 players because of COVID again. So unfortunately, it's a bit of a mess. Just one small correction: they've actually Hi, Jerry. You still there?
Hello, Gary. Sorry, you just froze on me there for a second. But hopefully it looks like we're all back and go, thankfully.
Yeah, I think we're back live. I don't know what happened there.
You were just saying there that there's been some change, and then you just stood still in front of me, unfortunately.
Okay, so the change in the rules is the only way that you can get a playoff now through the Nations League is if you actually win your Nations League group. So it's the playoff only goes to group winners. So the 4 Group A winners will probably qualify directly, and then there's probably have 1 or 2 of the League B winners as well. So if we were to win the group, we would be pretty much, I think, guaranteed a playoff. In fact, many people believe the playoff might even go down to one of the League C winners. So unfortunately, finish second doesn't mean anything, but it could help by winning a few games, get our seeding up to get a second seed for the World Cup draw, which is on the end of November. We're currently just about hanging on to a second seed, but it's likely, unless we got at least 3 wins in our next 4 games, that we'll miss out on that. Part of the problem is that Slovakia and Northern Ireland, who are just behind us, actually get to play each other, and they play an extra match now with the playoff final, which means one or both of them will pick up points.
I think that might be something, say, if international football does end up going ahead now in November, we don't actually play Wales in the first fixture until the Sunday, that they might look to try and get a friendly on that Thursday night again.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be particularly keen to play a friendly. UEFA may mandate it because Wales had to play the friendly against on was it Thursday night they played England. So UEFA are mandating friendlies. I don't know if they're mandating them for the playoff losers. That will be. I hadn't heard anything. I don't think the FAI would be too keen to play a friendly in advance of it because we can't really have fans in. It would be a loss, money loser, and frankly, I don't see the point with all these COVID issues. It's hard enough to justify these international matches without trying to fit in absolutely pointless friendlies.
Yeah, I think even
I
from
agree.
Stephen Kenny. I was just going to say, even from Stephen Kenny's point of view, I'd say he'd rather no friendly as well, and he could actually have a full week on the training ground to work and prepare for a game instead of only having 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's been very unfortunate in that his first 2 games were competitive games. His third game was an absolutely massive playoff game, and he hasn't had the lead in that most international managers would have and have time for a few friendlies, etc. So
yeah, it's crazy world. It's been
so if days in the training ground would certainly help.
Yeah, it's been a crazy year, so it's just unfortunate the way that it's gone out. Just in terms of this game, obviously Wales are a team we're very familiar with. They're in a World Cup qualifying campaign for 2018. During the last Nations League campaign when they took 6 points off us, we really need the win today, as I mentioned, to try and top the group. A defeat today, I think we can write off any hope of that. No surprise, there has been a couple of changes. Good few players have kept their place from Thursday night. Obviously, 5 players ruled out with the COVID-19 cases. What's your thoughts on the team that's taken to the field today?
Yeah, it's given all the players we're missing, it's a reasonably experienced team. I mean, Stephen did say that at least 4 of the players that are ruled out would have started. Look, it's going to be very tough. The bench looks fairly light. I'm a bit disappointed Jack Byrne still didn't get a chance to start with all the players ruled out. But our back 4 looks, with Darren Randolph still in goal, our back 4 looks reasonably solid. I mean, Kevin Long is going to come in for John Egan as the only change from the other night. Midfield, I mean, Conor Hourihane plays alongside and Jeff Hendrick again from the other night with Robbie Brady starting, and Robbie would have been a strong contender to start anyway. And up front, I mean, it's Robbie Brady's probably up front because Jason Malumbi is in midfield.
Yeah,
and it's Robbie Brady, James McLean, and Shane Long. So yeah, it's a couple of changes. I think Stephen was always going to experiment a bit. I think the Nations League is probably a funny tournament for us, that they are competitive matches, but they're not the most important competitive game in the world. And it's a balance between doing reasonably okay in the Nations League and then getting the chance to experiment, try out some players, and see what can be done, you know.
Yeah, and just in a word for the opposition, Wales, obviously we know quite a lot about them because we've had them. This is going to be our 5th meeting in 3.5 years. Yourself and Pops have done a preview show from the opposition with a view from the opposition camp. The video that just went out this morning. I haven't really kind of followed them that much in this. I know they're in a group, but like in terms of like watching them, I've obviously seen the results. They were well beaten by England the other night. We know they have quite a couple of young, exciting players coming through, and obviously, of course, they're going to be at the European Championships next summer if it goes ahead. So it's probably from them. It's all just trying to build squad depth for that tournament.
Yeah, so Ryan Giggs has Lawrence on the program this morning was actually talking that Ryan Giggs has actually brought in a lot of young players, and I mean, I think it's 7 of the squad from Euro 2016 only survived for the England game the other night, and they did so well to get to the semi-finals. And they had even made a few changes. Let's say we met them, and as you say, we played them a lot. The 2 games in 2017, the 2 Nations League games in 2018. So, and even then, we're still seeing quite a few changes. I mean, the big thing for them tonight is there's no Gareth Bale today. He's a massive loss for them. But Aaron Ramsey has come in from Juventus, and he's flying at the moment with them. And he is a quality player. I mean, I'm sure people remember him well from his time at Arsenal. So a lot of players at the back and all that are probably less familiar with Irish to Irish fans. But and I suppose another one we'll remember is Ethan Ampadu, who well, his dad Kwame actually played for under 21s, but he followed the advice of his Welsh mother rather than his Irish father.
Yeah, it could be another case of one that got away. He had a fantastic game in that Nations League game in Cardiff 2 years ago. Conor Roberts as well, the fullback, he was brilliant that night. He's with Swansea. You look at Harry Wilson there as well, Liverpool on the wing. Kiefer Moore playing for Cardiff up front in the Championship. Matthew Smith, quite promising young prospect with Manchester City. And even you think of the likes of, Nico Williams isn't even involved. Say a bit like ourselves, they do seem to have a very, very good generation of young players coming up.
Yeah, and I haven't actually figured out the starting age of their squad, but it'd probably be pretty young. I mean, there's a lot of them are pretty young, and they haven't had kind of great success. They haven't had the success we have had at underage tournaments. You actually don't see them normally. I can't remember the last time, if ever, they qualified for under 21s. I don't remember them making any impact at 17 and 19 level, but they do seem to have a conveyor belt of talent that's actually coming through. And I suppose a key thing about Wales as well is they have a way of playing right. And I know Stephen Kenny's actually trying to do that with us as well, but they have a way, but Wales are further ahead in their development, and they have a way of playing. So when you join the Welsh camp, even as a 16-year-old, and you're playing for the under-17s, you know what way they want to play, and it filters right up the system. And I think we know from historically with Irish teams, we can play different systems at different age groups, and it can be difficult to adapt. So I know it's something Stephen Kenny wants to do, and we're playing now the same way that his under 21s wanted to play. But yeah, it's going to take time, and we'll see how it works out. Today is going to be a real test. I mean, we are missing quite a few key players. We're up against a side that's in form, 2 wins from 2 in the Nations League, and just see the captains are shaking hands, exchanging pennants now at the moment.
Yeah, I think you might just be slightly ahead of me there, Gary. I'm just after coming through the national anthems and just displaying the teams here in front of me. Obviously, I'm watching this game on Sky Goals. I don't have the luxury of having Sky on my TV. As I mentioned, the game is on Sky Sports Main Event or Sky Sports Football. Again, there's probably a choice of whether you want the fake crowd noise or just to hear all the tactics and all the players shouting at each other. About to kick off 2 minutes. Absolutely glorious day, I have to say. Beautiful for the time of year. And as you mentioned, yeah, it is a good test, Gary. And it's still early in these Stephen Kenny days. I thought Thursday was real progression from September's games. But you do kind of feel, just from a morale kind of point of view, and just to ease the pressure off Stephen Kenny, it's game 4, another game coming up on Wednesday. He doesn't really want to go through another international break, have played 5 and no wins.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they're two tricky games. It's particularly missing so many players. The home game is against the group leaders at the moment, and probably, in fairness, the strongest team in the group. And then a tricky trip to Finland. I mean, both the teams we're playing now had already qualified for the Euros as of their own rights through their groups. So, yeah, I think probably I'd be happy enough if we could manage 1 win in the 2 games to have any chance of actually winning the group. I think we need the 4 wins. 4 wins would actually guarantee we win our Nations League group. But I think that's probably overly optimistic, particularly with the players that are out. But it certainly would be nice to get a win. And I think it would also be very important to avoid relegation, because if we were to suffer a couple of defeats, we'd be right in the relegation mire. And we really don't want to go down to League C. Even financially and everything would be a total disaster for the FAI.
Yeah, and if we go down to League C, that's definitely 3rd seeding for the World Cup draw. And you could find yourself in the group of death. Just in relation to that, we mentioned 4 wins. It probably is going to be a big ask. You touched on it earlier. At the moment, on the current standings and coefficiency and ranking, we're just hanging on to that 2nd seed. to maintain that second seed, which is probably our most realistic aim now from this Nations League campaign. How many points are we looking at? Are we probably looking at maybe 8 points, 7 points from the remaining 4 games?
I think probably a minimum of 8. I think it also depends on how other countries do. So it depends on how Slovakia do, how Northern Ireland do, how Serbia and Turkey ahead of us do. They're probably the teams in the mix. And unfortunately, although we're hanging on to the second seed, the game has actually just kicked off as well. Although we're hanging on to the second seed, the fact that Slovakia and Northern Ireland have an extra competitive game in the playoff final, which carries a lot of ranking points. So whoever wins that game will jump ahead of us. And if they actually draw and someone wins in penalties, they'll probably both jump ahead of us. So we're very looking at least 3 wins to get a second seed. It does depend on other teams' results, possibly 2 wins and 2 draws, but I cannot see anything less than 8 points from the next 4 games being enough to keep second seeding. And
that would
unfortunately.
That would see us finish with 9 points and would probably be enough to finish second in the group. So that should be enough. Just as you mentioned there, Gary, you mentioned the game had kicked off there. I'm a couple of seconds behind. Just what's actually gone on your clock on the TV?
So I'm just looking at 1:20.
Okay, so you're about 35 seconds ahead of me. Would you just mind pausing it just for 35 seconds so we both be at the same speed of the game? But it was just interesting note there. Mick McCarthy back on co-commentary once again with Sky Sports.
Oh, okay. I've got the sound down, so I don't know who's.
I just popped up on the screen just in front of you. Have the sound down as well.
Okay.
But yeah, we're going to be here for the next 2 hours or so commentating on this match, or giving our thoughts on it more so as the game goes on. But you know the score from Thursday night. Myself and Paul were here as well, so don't be afraid to get your comments in. We'll try and get across some. Let us know what you think. Hopefully, we'll have positive thoughts to talk about. It was a good performance Thursday, so let's try and kick on from that. And take from there, try and get a win, try and get a couple of goals, try and boost morale, and like I said, head into that Finland game with confidence, and we can put the off the field issues behind us. I am on 140 now, Gary. So
okay, yeah, perfect. Okay,
great.
Yeah.
So just to throw in here deep in the Irish half, which in the Stevens. So someone like you, never mind myself, has only been regular home games season ticket for the last 5 years. Watching games at home, no one there. For someone who's been going to years. Games, for decades, must be just so tough, Gary.
It is, Jeff, and really, it doesn't. In many ways, it doesn't even feel like the games are really happening. That it is really tough, and I know everyone is missing them, but I still think more could be done, and a way could be found to get fans into the stadiums. Because, look, I know it's a terrible virus and it's terrible times, but it does not spread outdoors as much as it spreads indoors, and I see why a lot of European countries are able to manage fans in stadiums, and I really don't see why we can't do it. Even Northern Ireland, they're meant to have 600 fans in tonight, and they're talking about 5,000 or 6,000 next month, and they've probably got the worst cases of the virus in Europe at the moment.
Yeah.
I suppose one of the maxims I go by abroad, going to matches or going to tournaments, is watch what the Germans do, and they're normally pretty smart and pretty clued in. And the Germans have found a way to get fans back into games. It is socially distant. There is 20-30% of capacity. They actually do it they do it on a regional basis. So they have actually shut down Bavaria now, and they've said no fans in Bavaria. But in other areas around Germany, fans are getting in, and it's all on a rolling basis. And I think it works. I mean, and I think even some of the problems here, they're saying, oh, fans will congregate in pubs. Well, then close the pubs, because you have daft situations. I know in certain League of Ireland clubs that dozens and dozens of fans are meeting in pubs near the stadium to watch the games. And I mean, they'd be far, far safer inside the ground, you know. No, I know the pubs are closed now as well.
Just going to say, you look at the situation, it'll be perfect now, like in that situation where you have pubs are closed now, apart from outdoor seating. Okay, if the game went ahead today, the Grand Canal Hotel Gasworks, there could be a couple of fans might be able to gather there, Toners and Baggot Street. But in general, the majority of pubs in and around the stadium are closed, or just, right, there's going to be a congregation of people here today on match day, we just have to close it and just take the hit for the few hours. But you just mentioned the Germans. That's an interesting point. I'm looking at for the European Championships next summer. They're down to host Euro 2024. Like, let's be honest, this multi-city European Championship in the middle of a pandemic, which we're still going to be in next year, makes no sense. Could you see UEFA decide to turn the tables, right? Germany, you host next summer, and then hopefully by 2024, we'll be back to normal, and that's the perfect time for the multi-city tournament. And I'm not just saying that because then Ireland might have a chance to play a couple of games of their major tournaments in their own backyard.
Yeah, they could do it that way. They may. This multi-city tournament, I think it's, sorry, from a start, I agree with you. I think it has to be in serious doubt. And I think a call will be made this side of Christmas. The multi-city tournament, if I remember correctly, was the brainchild of Michel Platini, who is no longer obviously flavour of the month. We'll just leave it at that. So... Yeah, we all know about football administrators who are no longer flavour of the month, but we'll leave that there anyway, somewhere else. So they possibly could go to Germany and say, will you host it next year instead? I wonder, would they actually go to somebody like Russia or England? Who Russia had such a successful hosting of the 2018 FIFA World Cup. And I know England are very keen, in fact, with a bid with ourselves and Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland to host the 2030 World Cup. England have already got both semi-finals and the final, as well as the group games at Wembley. They could just go to England and say, maybe you host everything, the Premier League, to have the stadiums and everything. I don't know if Germany be too keen to bring 2024 forward 3 years with a lot of the planning there. If England got to host it, possibly Scotland and ourselves could still hold on to games. Scotland probably, certainly, I think. Obviously, if they were to beat Serbia in the playoff final, they'd be a lot keener to hold on to it. So we could be coming as candidates to still hold it. At least then you're only holding it in 2 islands. But I agree with you. I think I don't see the 12-city format continuing after Christmas if things are as bad as they are now or worse come Christmas time. I think UEFA will still want to get some fans at the games. And so I think England or Russia, and England with a potential to consider ourselves and Scotland, or Russia could just as easily host the whole lot. You might be right with Germany hosting it and then switch to the multi-city format in 2024, but I don't know. I think if the multi-city format goes, I don't know if we'll ever come back to it again.
Yeah, it was kind of a bit of a strange one. It kind of never really was something that totally captured. I know Dublin were getting a couple of games, but totally captured the imagination. You know yourself and been at various tournaments down through the years, not even just Ireland's been at, but I'm from myself as well from Euro 2016. Just having that one base, I think it just makes it a lot better. I know obviously we only would have had to go to Bilbao, and well, God knows then when we'll be going for the last 16. But I look, for instance, like Wales, like their situation is just bonkers. Like they're going from Baku to Rome. Like the travel involved in that is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Oh, look, it was ridiculous. And I think, is it, I'm probably wrong on who it is. Is it Switzerland that actually go Baku, Rome, Baku? One of the teams in that group actually goes Baku, Rome. At least Wales have Baku, Rome. But one of the teams in that group, I think it could be Switzerland, go Baku, Rome, and back to Baku. It's a real tongue twister, but it's absolutely daft. And I see Michael Murney agrees with us. UEFA are full of dumb ideas. So
yeah, I wouldn't totally disagree with that. You could say anyone the head of any organisation seems to have a couple of dumb ideas. But in terms of, like you mentioned, UEFA will want to get fans back in for the tournament next summer, regardless of where it's been held or played. Like there are potential positive signs from that front, as in like they are trying to get fans back in now for the Europa League and Champions League starts back next week on government guidelines. So that is optimistic. That is positive. Look, hopefully by next year there could be a vaccine, some sort of it could be rolled out by that stage that you could at least maybe get 20-30% capacity. Because I think Definitely a major tournament without fans, I think, for me, is something that would be very, very strange. It's a festival of football, and you associate people with festivals, so I think it would be just very, very difficult. Like, for Dublin, like, if the multi-city one went ahead next year, and Dublin to have host games and no one be there, there's no economic benefit to the city or to the country at all, so it would be a real pain in the teeth. Just approaching 10 minutes gone here, Gary. It's been a pretty decent game. Both teams getting up and down, trying to make things happen. Jason Molumby in midfield has looked quite lively. Won a free kick there a few minutes ago. Wales had an attack that they put into the box, but we've dealt with it. We're trying to come out with it now, which ended Stevens just passing the ball forward. What have you made of the start so far?
Yeah, I think both teams are just feeling each other out a little bit, maybe. It's probably a bit of a phony war, I suppose, at this stage, passing the ball around the back. So I suppose, give it time. I don't know whether was just getting a bit of a break there away, but it's it's early days, and we'll see what happens. But I think both teams are actually trying to pass the ball. We know the way Wales will play, and we'll see what happens. I think it's maybe early days to try and get too much of an idea of how the game is going.
Yeah, and obviously Ireland as well are going to be really hamstring when it comes to making substitutions. Even the bench is so light. Where Wales have numerous options to draw upon as well. I know, like, in the day, you can only still make the same number of substitutions, but do you think that also could be a little bit of a factor?
Yeah, I think it will. I think that'll be a factor, and plus the fact many of the players had 120 minutes in their legs from Thursday night, which would be pretty tiring, not to mind the penalty shootout as well. So I think Stephen will not be well, he wouldn't have planned to give a lot of players the playing time they're going to get today, and obviously won't be able to make too many substitutions. A lot of them will actually be forced upon him. So it could become I think it will become a factor, particularly as we go late into the game. That could be tiredness, not to mind then travel and an away game coming up. So.
Yeah, and decent flight journey as well ahead of us, with Finland coming. Don't know about yourself, you're probably still a few seconds ahead, but we've just won a free kick there for a foul from Jeff Hendrick, but we've gone back with it now with Kevin Long playing it into Conor Hurahan, who plays a nice pass out to James McLean, who plays it on to Enda Stevens. So it could be an opportunity here for something. Stevens back into McLean, who's worked his way into the box, gets a cross in, but it's easy dealt with by Wales. McLean was actually in a decent position there. I thought maybe to take another touch and compose himself, because he was in a good position for a shot.
Yeah, he could have had an effort and goal. I agree. It's always the challenge that you try and have an effort and goal, or you try and find somebody in a better position. So
yeah, just wonder sometimes.
Right enough.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Like, as you said, even though both teams are feeding away into the ball, there still is a great urgency, and from Ireland to keep the ball and keeps their philosophy. Do you think maybe that's something with Ireland sometimes, that we just don't maybe take a little bit of a gamble sometimes when we get ourselves in the final third? Like, there was a couple of times on Thursday night, Jeff Hendrick, I thought, was in a decent position, in a good position in front of goal, a bit of space in front of him. They could have actually had a pop, but instead he always tried to, like, look around him and see if there's someone for a pass, and said, like, take a shot. Okay, you mightn't score, but you might force the keeper to parry it and get a corner from it.
Yeah, it's probably something that's going to evolve. I think probably the way we've changed in the mindset, and it's keep possession. I think players are trying to pass and probe and try and just create a better opportunity. But I think, I agree. There are times it's just worth having a go. I mean, it could go in. You could catch it sweetly. It could fly in the top corner. But even if you don't catch it, sometimes the goalkeeper can make a mistake as well. I mean, I remember it was the first 45 minutes of the game. Neither keeper made a save, I think, until Darren Randolph had to make that one in first half injury time where he went full length. So it's I think it's probably something that'll come in time. I think probably our style is still evolving, and I actually go back to something I'd actually heard before, but Lawrence again mentioned it on the podcast today about Wales. when Ryan Giggs, and you often wonder, actually, going back to our game in 2017 when we beat them, it turned out to be a critical moment for Wales, because Ryan Giggs came in, took squad, made quite a few changes, went off to China, did quite a bit of work with the younger players, had his way of playing, had another friendly in the US that summer, so had a good lead into his first competitive games, which were the Nations League. Hammered us 4-1 in Cardiff in their first game, and of course came back and beat us in Dublin, and then went on, and no, not without a couple of hiccups along the way, but qualified directly out of their group for the Euros. So from a situation where they were losing to us, lost Chris Coleman as their manager, they've gone to, frankly, they are a stage ahead of us in their development at the moment. And I think it's fair to say we are probably, I think we're definitely playing catch up. I don't think too many could argue that we're on a par or ahead of Wales. No, that's not to say we can't beat them today, but they're currently more advanced in their development, even though they've probably have a younger squad as well.
Yeah, I think you could definitely say that they've a more balanced team than they had in 2016. I would say, or maybe they were a little bit, definitely in the qualifying for that tournament, reliant on Gareth Bale. And I know you mentioned that a couple of hiccups in qualifying, but like that was a tough group. At the end of the day, I think there was only 2 points between themselves, Hungary and Slovakia, and Croatia as well were in that group, and they didn't exactly run away with it. So the 4 teams, there wasn't much between them. It does have to be said. Just in terms of this game, one thing I've just noticed with Ireland play, or certainly passing the ball, there's a little bit more balance for it. I felt the first half, the last day, we went down the right-hand side a lot. Now, we did get quite a decent amount of joy from it, but I found that we've gone down the left a little bit more. Enda Stevens has been involved. He's got a couple of passes. He's up to try and make things happen. James McLean, as I mentioned, had that chance where he ends up putting a cross in instead of taking a shot.
Yeah, no, I actually thought we did quite well down the left on Thursday night. I think Enda Stevens had his best game for us for a while, but it's, yeah, I was actually happy enough with the way we passed the ball on Thursday night. I actually thought we played well. We just didn't have a cutting edge, I thought, which may have made a difference. And just we were talking about Enda Stevens, he nearly gets in again there, but
yeah, the shot just came out. I think Hendrick then played it off to Brady, and he takes a shot from the edge of the box, but it's well blocked. But it's a good move, a good pass out wide into Doherty into space, which we know he's brilliant and can kick on. Puts in a decent enough cross. Just a heavy touch actually from Stevens setting down the first time before there's a little bit of ping ball, and it came down. His first touch there didn't really, well, actually I'm going to let him off that. I think it was actually a good cushion pass to Hendrick. Good strike by Brady, well blocked. But possession wise, the stats just came up there. We have 65% possession compared to Wales at 35. We have pretty much kept the ball for the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, and although we have the possession, and there's been 0 attempts on goal from either side. Sorry, we've had 1 attempt that was blocked. There's been 0 attempts on target or off target so far. So it's yeah, I'm just looking at UEFA.com now, and they have us. Yeah, we're 88% passing accuracy from 171 passes already. So that's quite a lot, actually. It's only 18 minutes gone in the game.
Yeah, and we've just won a corner here as well. Another long-range cross coming in from Enda Stevens as well, blocked by a Wales defender, and it's gone out now for a corner. And it looks like Robbie Brady, if I'm correct in saying. It is Robbie Brady who's heading over to take this. Yeah. Imagine we getting the boys up from the back. Long. I see Shane Long is in there, James McLean, but I imagine Kevin Long or Shane Duffy would be in there as well. Brady kicks a Coleman over his way to give him a little bit more space to kick this. And didn't see who got their head on that, but it's resulted in another corner. It's very hard to see actually because of the sunlight makes it quite difficult to see in the first.
Yeah, it does make it half
hopefully
the pitches in shadow and half the pitches in sunlight.
I think it was Duffy who got the head on it. Didn't actually seem to be going anywhere. I don't know why the Wales defender actually decided to flick it out for a goal out of play when it was probably going out for a goal kick. Brady again, Duffy again. This time it's well blocked. Air shot from Mark Doherty. Wales scrambled to get it through. another scuffed effort from Ireland, a bit of ping ball, and it's actually resulting in for a free out for Wales. Shane Long penalised there. But yeah, once again, no surprise there. Shane Duffy was the man we looked to on both occasions from the corners.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's still one of our big goal threats will be set pieces from corners, free kicks, etc., and hopefully Shane can get at the end of them. Yeah, I see Robbie Brady actually, when he starts or when he plays, he does seem to be on set pieces. Probably just that little bit better quality of delivery than Conor Hourihane. But it's good. It's good to have. It's good to have both options, and we can try both.
Yeah, first major real incident of significance.
Kiefer Moore.
Yeah, yellow card for him there. For a challenge with Kevin Long. Kevin Long has gone down, but I imagine it won't be anything too painful or any such notion. He's a player that's kind of played his way back into Ireland contention. That's largely due to a good run that he's got with Burnley over the last couple of months.
Yeah, he's been getting a lot of game time, which is great to see. Getting a bit, might have been concussed or there, have got a blow to the face. Maybe Kiefer Moore is lucky. It's only, yeah, kind of, it's probably only a yellow card in fairness. It's probably accidental, but he, yeah, I think a yellow is probably the right call.
Yeah, didn't he? Like, I know he had the hand up and kind of like the elbows kind of like that, but he didn't kind of like swing with it or any motion with it. I think it would have been harsh. Now, Long actually does look a little bit. His eye actually looks a bit gashed. Actually, he looks a bit swollen. Like, so he actually could be. You touched on concussion there. He actually could be a bit worse than I actually thought. I thought it'd be just kind of a bit of a shock reaction, but one of his eyes does look a little bit swollen. All right, and he does seem to be struggling for eyesight out of it.
Yeah, no, it does look like. I mean, he did get quite a blow. I think, in fairness to Kiefer Moore, he is a big bruising striker, a big target man.
Oh, definitely.
That, we used to have back in the day a Tony Cascarino or a Niall Quinn or whatever. But a decent player, actually. He scored quite a few goals. He's become a key player, as Lawrence was mentioning this morning in the preview. He's become quite a key player for the team, and but it is. It's an interesting way because it's probably a style of player that Wales haven't had or used for a while. But I wonder, will the yellow card have any impact on him in his performance?
No, just going back to the philosophy that Wales football is trying to adapt from underage structures all the way up. Like, Kiefer Moore isn't the player you would associate with their style of play, but he is a player that I wouldn't say he's a late blossomer, but he's really kind of kicked on in his career the last couple of years. You mentioned he's become a key player of Wales. He's a huge player for Cardiff now at this stage as well. And he's really grabbing both his opportunities at club and country level as Wales just press up high and overturn us in midfield, but they're still actually managed to retain the ball. Can't quite see who it is for them now. They've made their way into the box. Ireland, though, still don't quite clearly get the job done. And then it's intercepted brilliantly there by, was it Jason Malumbi? I think it was, yeah.
Okay.
And then just a long ball clear, but Wales will then start their progression up to the Ireland pitch again as they now decide to come down their left-hand side in the sunlight of the Aviva Stadium. And Doherty slides in there, and that would probably be a free kick to Wales, and indeed it is. So Daniel James, he made the challenge on. Arms enough one just with pushing the back, but I suppose it's one of those, if it's the other way around, we'd be calling for a free kick.
So it looks like Kevin Long is. Yeah, it looks like Kevin Long is.
Yeah, he's gone.
Be able to continue.
He's gone. Referees even just halted play in the middle of without the ball even going out. Long has gone down to the ground. I think his day looks like it's done. Another Irish player now for different reasons has to now leave the pitch.
Yeah, this is going to be a real challenge now because who's going to come on at the back? It's Cyrus Christie.
Cyrus Christie. So who's going to start in centre back?
Yeah, Shane Duffy is the only recognised centre half.
Yeah,
I don't really know if any of Cyrus Christie, Matt Doherty, or Enda Stevens has any experience of playing in there. It'll be interesting to see how that works.
Yeah, it just shows actually how really badly we are stuck for numbers and availability on the bench, that we have a centre back that goes off injured, and we don't even have a centre back to replace him. That we have to bring on a full back from. And also another thing as well, we mentioned we're light on numbers on the bench. The last thing we would want to do as well is to make a substitution before half time.
Yeah, I mean, because we won't have any options at the back, I think now. Yeah, it's going to be difficult. I mean, the only position we're fully covered for is we've 2 goalkeepers still on the bench, so all our keepers are fine.
Could have been a chance to see what someone could be made of at centre back. I know obviously Cyrus Christie did play centre midfield in the Nations League 2 years ago for us against Denmark.
It's Matt Doherty's actually gone in centre half. So, well, this could be a test to see, can we get Seamus Coleman and Matt Doherty on the same pitch? Watch out, John Egan, Matt Doherty could be partnering Shane Duffy.
He puts in a good performance. I think that's going to be a huge blow for us now that we have to sacrifice Doherty's strengths to fit in at centre back, and that we could be a little bit weakened on the right hand side, or getting a little bit of injustice to Cyrus Christie before he's even got a chance to get into the game. Yeah,
but I think it is fair comment. I think we are going to miss certainly Matt's abilities going forward. Now, it's not that Cyrus is too bad going forward, but I think Matt is just a better player. And ironic when we were talking about who was going to play a few days ago between Seamus Coleman and Matt Doherty, that we're 25, 30 minutes. I can't even see the clock on the screen at the moment, but that we're into the game and into our second game, and neither of them are playing in the right back role. So from a position, we're down to Cyrus, who's clearly our third choice right back at the moment, you know.
And, just the first shot on target of the game comes just after 25 minutes. It's a good move from Wales. I didn't quite see who was. I had the shot for them from just outside the box, but Randolph making a pretty comfortable save. He's put it out for a corner. Harry Wilson now, the Liverpool player, he's going to go over and take it. Could even it's Daniel James actually. I think it was Wilson who had the shot, and it's going to be Manchester United's Daniel James too.
Yeah, it was quite a good save by Darren Randolph. He had to go. He had to go full length for that, you know.
It's a good move as well, I have to say, in fairness to Wales.
Yeah, they do play good football. They have some good players, and it's
and that man Kiefer Moore then headers the corner harmlessly out over the pitch for a goal kick for Ireland. So Darren Randolph will, for the first time today, will take actually a goal kick in this game, and he passes out to our new centre back, Matt Doherty. There could be even something for Jose Mourinho to take into consideration.
Yeah, but I think in seriousness, it's more of a makeshift effort, you know. So,
and here is Doherty now coming out with the ball, and he gives it into Jeff Hendrick, who goes back to Shane Duffy, who plays into Malumbi. Good turn from Malumbi, gets away. Another lovely little bit of skill from Malumbi to get past the Wales player. And now we're in a good position here. Malumbi out to Cyrus Christie on the right hand side, who cuts it back into. Was it Brady? And his low driving cross is blocked, but we get the ball back out with Cyrus Christie, who turns, then puts the cross back in. Decent enough cross, but straight into the goalkeeper hands. Good move there from Ireland, and a great lovely little bit of play of Jason Malumbi. We've seen him do that with Millwall, and that's the first real time we've seen him.
He did really well. He was actually fouled, I thought, there as well, and he still continued on.
Wales just coming away here, Harry Wilson, but we've cut it out there with Robbie Brady, but to get the ball back with Kiefer Moore. Smith then with the ball now. I'd say so far, you'd look out at the 2 starting teams, and Aaron Ramsey would be the most high-profile player that would stand out. I think we kind of kept him quite quiet. Now, I know Wales haven't maybe been heavy ticked and involved in the game. He is quite forward, so he wouldn't get in the ball that much. But, for someone that you'll be very wary of, he hasn't really imposed himself on the game.
Yeah, no, definitely, I agree. He hasn't stood out yet, and someone who's in flying form with Juventus and everything. I suppose I was probably expecting more from him, and it's probably a good thing that he hasn't been too prominent yet. He is, though, a crucial goal threat as well from that number 10 role, and just see that Morel is taking the ball off Cyrus Christie there, and that's going to be a yellow card. That's yellow card for Cyrus Christie. It's 1 yellow card aside now.
And that's one of the most blatant yellow cards you're ever going to see. I think that was just a fullback that knew, I'm not going to catch this man.
Yeah, but it's a bit risky this early in the game, still just in the 30th minute, to have one of our fullbacks on a yellow card,
and for someone who's only on the pitch for 4 minutes.
Barring injury, all our defenders are going to see the rest of the game. I don't think we're going to have any tactical substitutions at the back anyway.
Yeah. Harry Wilson and Daniel James stand over this, but I imagine it's going to be Wilson. Of course, we all know about how good he can be from set pieces. He scored that brilliant free kick 2 years ago at the Aviva.
Yeah, to win the game, the only goal of the game, unfortunately. Yeah. It's gone out for a Welsh corner.
I'll say it wasn't a bad delivery. He got it right into the good area. He would have been looking for the 6-yard box, but credit to Jeff Hendrick. He got it out there away from, was it Conor Roberts?
Yeah, so Conor Darren Randolph, he's got away with it, but he didn't fully catch that. It just slipped through his hands and came off.
Wilson with the delivery. Yeah, Randolph. Oh, Jesus, yeah. Very, very lucky that very lucky they got that decision going his way. It's unlike Darren not to gather that the first time.
Yeah, of course, there was VAR on Thursday night, but there's no VAR again for the nation.
Yeah, just a drop and...
the ref has decided that was a free out anyway.
To be honest, I didn't really think there was much in it either way. As in, like, I find it hard to see where you can make a case that could have been a free in, or sorry, a penalty if he wants to penalise Randolph, or a free out as he did decide to go with.
Yeah, I agree. I think in those circumstances, the referee often decides, look, I'll give a free out, and people will forget about it. Whereas if he gave a penalty,
but like the way,
it would be huge controversy.
If you're to benefit the attacker, look at Randolph has spilled that ball. It's there for the Wales player to go. It's not like he had his two hands on it. Even if he had a hand on it, he's entitled to go for it. So I found that one just a very strange one, to be honest. Now, it was harmless from Randolph. It wasn't like the Slovakian keeper that nearly knocked out Shane Duffy with his punch to the night. Like, he only kind of just got a hand on him, like, without even any intention.
So,
that was very poor from Stevens. Just come out the back there, Matt Doherty played the ball into Stevens into the left-hand side. And just a bad touch from Stevens lets the ball roll out for an inline. But we'll let Stevens off of that because so far I think he's had a good game.
Robbie Brady has a chance here. He's coming through the edge of the D, takes a shot. Oh, just wide. That was our best chance, I think. A straight pass from the Welsh player. And Robbie Brady took it on and on his left foot from just outside the area, curled it just wide at the top corner.
It was a good effort, well read from Brady. You could say it was sloppiness from Wales and it was under hit pass, but Brady was there and intercepted, drove it on, done the right thing. He was on the edge of the box, stayed straight in front of the goal, hit it sweet, and it just hits the back stanchion of the goal, so it wasn't far away. Yeah, I would definitely say so far our best chance. And the game is now starting to open up. We mentioned the first 15-20 minutes was both players were kind of just feeding away into the game. I think both players are now up to the pace and the tempo. We're seeing a couple more chances come either way. So hopefully this will be a sign of more things to come over the remaining hour.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the stats again. So we've 5 attempts to 2, but we haven't had an effort on target yet, and they have. Corners are 2-2. We're still 62-38 on possession. So we've had a lot of the ball in the first 33 minutes. And our passing accuracy is better as well. We're 87% to Wales is 83%. And we're up to 229 passes, 199, just coming up to the 200th pass completed. So we've probably had... Sorry,
I was just going to say, like, do you reckon, not being critical to either team here, but that the passing accuracy from both teams is so high because there hasn't really been any kind of risky passes. It's been kind of comfortable, it's been safe, it's been playing out from the back, just kind of like passing sideways, as in there hasn't been someone who's like, right, I'm going to try and open things up and make things happen.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair comment, and I don't think there's a really high press from either side either. I don't think there is a huge pressure on the ball when you don't have the ball. I think you're kind of content to leave. There's a chance here Wales could get in on the left, but thankfully it's been cleared. So I think that it's probably, it's not a great game. I think, to be honest, it feels a bit like after the Lord Mayor's show that certainly from our perspective, we such a massive game on Thursday night, and unfortunately, while I'd love to win it, it doesn't matter in the same way that that obviously Thursday night did.
No, I don't think a victory tonight, or today, even if we go on and rout Wales, will make up for Thursday night. Just that little half chance that came there for Wales, kind of the opposite from us. For Brady's chance, it came from a poor pass from Shane Duffy, just pinned out of the back, and thankfully, I suppose we got the numbers back. Yeah, that's one thing I actually feel that's missing. I think it just sums up because the intensity of this game is not there as much as Thursday. The pressing, which was very evident from Ireland Thursday night, it just doesn't seem to be quite there as much. And I think it's possibly because there isn't as much riding on this game, and the players just maybe aren't quite feeling it quite as much. And as you mentioned, the tempo of this game, it feels very much like watching reruns of the Bulgaria and Finland matches. That it's like almost as if it's the first game these players have played in a while, or maybe it's just a case of both players, particularly from Ireland's point of view, are just quite down from Thursday.
Yeah, and I suppose they're good points, and it's also maybe the changes as well. And I suppose Wales were playing a friendly on Thursday as well, and well, they took quite a bad beating from England, and they've made a few changes as well. So it's well, there isn't a huge amount of intensity or pressure at it. I mean, I think in fairness, I think Stephen did say he was going to treat it's a free kick here to Ireland actually, but midway between the half line and the penalty box. But Stephen was saying he was going to treat these games and the Nations League. I won't say as friendlies, but it is a time to build the squad, build the team. So they won't be treated with the same intensity that a playoff or certainly the World Cup qualifying will be treated next year. So
yeah, Robbie Brady sent up free kick, a foul from Kiefer Moore on Jeff Hendrick, as Brady looks like it's going to be a good delivery. Well, we hope he's going to get a good delivery. In Ireland, a couple of numbers up. Wales obviously have their line well set up.
Comment there from David Salter. They just look knackered, lads. Yeah, maybe it's as simple as that. But it was pretty tough, So
yeah, the free kick there from Brady unfortunately didn't come to much. Come to a save for Wayne Hennessy, and it seems as if he's clashed heads with Ethan Ampadu there. So Wales obviously might have to have a bit of a rethink if this is. No, I don't think there's much in that.
I think he's all right. No, I don't think there's much in it, but he was clearly he was his own player. I mean, there was no.
Yeah, I think Ethan Ampadu seemed to come off the worst of that. Anyway, just possibly talk about issues with yellow cards and all that. Something Wales might have to look in for is Kiefer Moore. We've already touched on. He's a player that likes to get about himself. He gave away a silly free kick there, and Jeff Hendrick. Would that be something Ryan Giggs could be looking at, thinking this lad could easily get sent off for doing something stupid and get a second yellow card?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably more of a forwards challenge, I suppose, something to say. But yeah, I mean, he's on a yellow card early on. I didn't notice. I don't know whether you noticed where the referee was from, but for want of a better term, this is probably more of a typical British style football, or I know we're trying to move towards a continental style, but certainly there's a lot of challenges that we let go across the water in the English League that you wouldn't get away with, or may earn a yellow card in an international match. So it is something he would want to be concerned. Certainly from an Irish perspective, I'd have no concerns about him being sent off the pitch. Might give us a chance to take all 3 points.
We'll take anything to go on your.
Yeah,
we'll take anything to go in your favour to get a victory.
Yeah, we'll do a bit of luck, and I do think that Stephen Kenny actually, the one thing he does need is a victory. I think it would it would give him some breathing space. I think it's ridiculous that 3 matches in that some people are actually criticising him, but certainly a victory either today or on Wednesday would give him and the squad a lot of breathing space.
Well, definitely, because like there was a lot of positives to take from Thursday night, and the performance was so positive, and like a victory from in today, or if you could take 4 points from the next 2 games, would definitely back up that belief that we are heading in the right direction, and that the Thursday night is what we're going to look forward to over the next couple of years. Because I certainly believe that is the case. I know Slovakia might have been there for the taking and missing a couple of players, but it's been a long time since in a competitive front I've seen Ireland, either home or away, have such control in the game and actually create plenty of opportunities and actually feel like, you know what, we actually were unlucky to win that game. Also, on positive news, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm delighted the sun has actually now gone on the Aviva, so it's much more clear to make out who is on the ball, especially on that right-hand side for Ireland and left-hand side for Wales.
Yeah, it is actually. The pitch looks, it's probably fully in shadow, so whether the sun is just, whether it's gone behind the cloud or whether it's just gone down behind the stand, I don't know. But we would know if we were there, but unfortunately we're not. And but it is much easier it's much easier viewing now on TV. And it's much easier to make out who the players are.
Yes, Ireland just gets themselves in a little bit of bother here. Enda Stevens on the left-hand side. He's twisting and turning, not really getting far, but he gets a rush clearance. I was going to say it was away, but McLean didn't get onto it, so Wales come again. That looks like it could be a free kick. Thankfully, the referee didn't decide. Keith Moore doesn't look too happy. He's never too far away from any incident in this game, it seems, at the moment. As Ireland come away now here on the right-hand side with Jason Malumbi, who looks very comfortable on the ball, I have to say, so far. Onto Cyrus Christie, crosses from deep. Not a great cross, easily dealt with by the Wales defence, but it's put straight back into Cyrus Christie, who links up with Robbie Brady. Brady, just along the end line, gives it back into Christie, who controls it well. Back in field. Now Malumbi with it. Good pass into Long. Oh, just Long tries to give a give and go, but it's well cut up by Wales. But we're back again now, this time the left-hand side. McLean, just on the edge of the box, cuts in. Drives out of the Wales defender. It's well blocked, and it's out for an Ireland corner. Again, a little bit more tempo and urgency there from Ireland, and some good kind of decent control of play in tight areas. Just possibility there could have been a penalty against Cyrus Christie. Your thoughts, Gary? Or Shane Duffy, sorry. Yeah. Oh, no, it was Cyrus Christie, yeah.
It was Cyrus Christie, right. Yeah. Well, I don't think it was a penalty. And I think, well, I don't think there's any way it was intentional handball and it shouldn't have been a penalty. The way things are going with these new rules with VAR, I think it's one of those that possibly could have been given, but his hand was down by his side. So I think even with VAR, it wasn't a penalty. But yeah, it couldn't. I've seen some daft penalties given in the Premier League this season, which is a bit concerning. But that would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, it's that man. That was Christie. Oh, good effort from Christie, but
yeah, that was high and over the bar. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we've had quite a. So we haven't had an effort on target yet in this game. So Hennessy hasn't had to do much. But there have been the one from Robbie Brady there and the one from Cyrus Christie that have been very close, you know. And
no, just watching the angle from the camera from. Sorry.
I was just going to say, going back to a point you made, Ger, we are actually today taking on those shots. We probably, I think you felt we didn't take on Thursday night. So maybe yourself and Stephen Kenny were on a similar mind as what our players should have been doing.
Can't give anything away now, Gary, about any phone calls off the last 3 or 4 days or any influence I've had in this Ireland team. But yeah, I know you touched on we haven't had any shots on targets. But like, just even go back to the 2 Finland games and the Bulgaria match in September, like at least we're getting efforts off. Like a lot of that was just like nice pretty ball but not much end product. At least we're getting the final third. If we get half a yard, sure, look, I'll take it on, because we've tried playing it out wide, we've tried to play people in for crosses, and the game is the same with Thursday night. Our delivery on crosses just doesn't seem to maybe be the best, and it's been the same way in this game. So take a chance like that, can never go astray.
Yeah, I mean, certainly Robbie Brady's effort and Cy Christie's efforts, they were well worth having a go, and they weren't that far away. And yeah, I mean, I think we're playing pretty well. I mean, we've had most of the possession, a lot of the territory. We've definitely had more of the chances, certainly far more attempts on goal, even if Wales have had the only attempt on target from that good save by Darren Randolph. But Yeah, no, it's been a pretty decent first half performance so far. Not a great game by any means, but considering the amount of players we're missing and the amount of players that probably would have started, it's quite encouraging. And Jason Malumbi is probably a good shout. I thought he's done really well in midfield. He's been prominent. I know he's a player a lot of people would like to see get more time on the pitch.
Yeah, he certainly had flashes of brilliance. We just have a free kick here after a foul on Shane Long. It's Robbie Brady who seems to be on pretty much all set piece delivery today. Conor Hourihane hasn't really got a chance. So we'll see what comes of this. Gary, you probably already know what's happened as you're a couple of seconds ahead. But
yeah,
good delivery. Long gets on it. Oh, does he Long actually get a touch? Oh, Shane Duffy, sorry.
Shane Duffy.
It was a very, very good delivery. Got it right into the area it wanted. And Duffy probably couldn't stretch to it enough. No, Duffy didn't even get any contact on it. But very good delivery, I have to say, all the fairness.
Yeah, 3 minutes of added time in the first half now. That's probably most of that for the injury to Kevin Long.
Yeah.
But it's a promising end to the half. We're certainly having a go at them anyway. And
so far with our makeshift back four as well. Like, it's what, 20 minutes now, Matt Doherty's played centre back. Like, you can't say we're looking exposed or we're looking out of place or all over the shop at the back. Like, we've looked well organised, well structured. I know Wales haven't been the most penetrating, but I suppose you always have to look at the positives.
Yeah, I mean, Matt is a very good footballer, so he's capable of slotting in. And I don't know, maybe someone in the comments knows whether he's played at centre back before. I'm certainly not aware of it. And it's a couple of comments in actually as well. David Salt again, we're keeping Ramsey fairly quiet.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier. Yeah,
and Michael is saying half time's coming at the wrong time, which is something I probably agree with as well. We've just got a bit ahead of steam and playing pretty well, but the break is probably in whatever, a minute and a bit is going to. It's a free kick there for Ireland and fouling Shane Long. But it's probably going to come at the wrong time unless we can get something out of this free kick, maybe.
So, no, I have to say, in fairness, touch on it, like, I know Hourihane hasn't got a kick on deliveries yet today, but from the few corners in that last free kick, Robbie Brady's free kicks or deliveries have been pretty good today so far, you have to say.
Yeah, I think when he's on the pitch, I think you're correct. He does seem to take most, if not all, of the set pieces, and it is. I think you do get a better quality of delivery from Robbie. He has. He's really good, and on set pieces, which has fortunately nothing's going to come of that. Free kick is a free out, I believe, for a foul.
And just as we actually say that, it was Conor Hourihane that took that free kick.
Okay. And it was a decent enough delivery as well. So
it was a decent, yeah. It got in around the penalty area box. Yeah. Unfortunately, though, I think it was Shane Duffy that was the player that was penalised. But yeah, it does look as if half time is just going to come at the wrong time. I'm not saying you touched on blowing a little bit ahead of steam. I wouldn't say we're blowing Wales out the water, but we are just starting to gain a little bit of momentum and looking the more penetrating in this game. But like overall, you can't really say either team has really kind of like taken a firm grip at this match.
No, it's probably pretty even, Stephen. I'll just show another comment there from John Mooney. He says even Stephen game, good team performance, and I'd probably agree with that. I don't think we've done enough, and I didn't actually think we did enough Thursday night to win the game, but certainly Slovakia didn't do enough to win it either. And it's another decent enough performance, but we're not doing enough to, as of yet, to win this game. But there's still plenty of time left. But it's an encouraging performance. I mean, when I heard this morning after we'd done the preview that 4 players and effectively 5 players, it is 5 players actually that were on the squad or in the team sheet for Thursday night are not available, and 4 of them certainly would have started. When I heard they weren't available, was kind of thinking, oh, look, this is terrible news, and it's going to be really, really tough. But fair play to those who have played, and they've played. They've done really well, and I think we have to be happy with that performance. And another fan of Molumby here, I think Jay, I agree, saying that Jay has been absolutely excellent and one of our better players. And another comment from saying he's thoroughly impressed how we're playing. Wales have a very strong team. Well, I don't know, but we don't. But we're missing quite a few players, and Wales should be doing better. Well, maybe, but maybe with a name like that, actually, I think we've got a Welsh fan here. But from an Irish perspective, I think we've actually done. I've been very impressed with our performance.
Yeah, and I think when you take everything into consideration that we're coming from the low from Thursday, we've had all the hassle off the pitch the last couple of days with Connolly and I that we actually could have played. Then, as you mentioned this morning, with the players that are unavailable, and you take into consideration as well that Wales do actually have a pretty strong team, maybe the exception of Gareth Bale. They're clashed as a higher standard team than Slovakia on rankings, and the fact that they qualified outright for the Euros. Would you even say like that this is possibly more impressive than Thursday because we're playing reasonably well against a better standard team with all the distractions the last couple of days?
Yeah, and I mean, well, I think there's no doubt they're a better team than Slovakia because they beat them and drew with them in qualifying and finished ahead of them in the qualifying group. So I think that argument is easily proved. Now, obviously, Gareth Bale is a world-class player, and he is a different level to anybody in our squad, or indeed anybody else in the Welsh squad. And whatever about his issues at Real Madrid, he has been a fantastic player for Wales. So he is a big loss for them. But having said that, yeah, I think they certainly haven't had the disruptions we've had. They haven't had the disappointment of losing on penalties and a grueling 120 minutes on Thursday. So yeah, from an Irish perspective, it's a very encouraging performance, and possibly, yeah, more encouraging than Thursday night, given the number of players were down, and a number of key players that either started or came off the bench on Thursday and would have started today, this afternoon, and potentially would have made a difference. So yeah, it is an encouraging 45 minutes. I'll tell you, I was probably before the game, before I knew anything this morning about the players being out, I probably would have been reasonably happy with a draw. Given the loss of the players, I would have been, I think probably still would actually be delighted with a draw. I think it would be nice not to lose. Okay, we could still go and win this game, which would be absolutely fantastic and would be a huge boost to the squad. But certainly, yeah, at half time, it's been quite encouraging. I'll just have a look at the stats here, Ger. According to UEFA.com, we've had seven total attempts on goal. They've had 3. 6 of ours have been off target and 1 blocked. They've had the 1 on target that Darren Randolph saved. They've had 1 off target and 1 blocked. 3 corners to 2 in our favour. Possession is 61-39 in our favour, which is quite significant. Our passing accuracy is much better, 85-80. 273 out of 321 passes completed. So yeah, the stats would seem to indicate we've had more of the game, which I think is probably fair comment, albeit without probably not doing enough to deserve to be ahead. But hopefully some encouraging signs for the second half.
Yeah, one of the major encouraging signs in that first half, we've touched on it there with some of the recent comments, has been Jason Molumby's performance. I think he's shown some brilliant flashes on midfield. He had that one great run where he opened up an opportunity for us down the right-hand side. I think as well, because the first game, I think there was a lot of kind of hype and expectation because of what he'd done with Millwall last season. And I think maybe the occasion had been his debut and all that kind of got to him. Whereas today, he's got that factor out of the way, where he's got that nerves and expectation out of the way, which he's coming in under the radar. Everything over the last couple of days has probably helped him as well, that people haven't passed and paid much heed. And he definitely looks like a player that's a lot more relaxed than he was 5 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing is the pressure of his debut is gone as well. So he's already played international football. And yeah, so he has done very well. I mean, it's probably a different midfield as well. He's playing with Conor Hourihane and Jeff Hendrick today, whereas it was Harry Arter and was it Robbie Brady played with in the Finland game. Started.
Brady did, but was Brady in the front three that last day? I can't really remember, to be honest.
I know we changed the full midfield from Bulgaria to Finland. So
that's right, yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I think it is the pressure of his debut, which, again, I suppose I go back to another point. It would have been the big advantage if Stephen had a few friendlies to bed the squad in, and the luxury Ryan Giggs had a couple of years ago. That certainly would have helped. But yeah, I mean, it is. It's no harm in having these players get games and get game time and get used to international football, because it's very difficult to come in a senior international game and make an impact in your first game. So I think we're going to see today, whatever way, by accident or by design, that Stephen has to experiment. He'll probably call a few people into the squad for Wednesday, but it's still going to be be difficult as well. But yeah, it's
it's just unfortunate the circumstances that we find ourselves in. Who knows? Who's to say that this positive test won't end up being a false positive, and who knows? Again, more players might end up testing positive and ruled out for Wednesday. You really just haven't a clue at this stage. You can't even go from day to day. I don't think we're definitely at the territory where we need to go making changes at half time. Probably feed away into the second half. But would you be looking for someone like Jack Byrne, Josh Cullen, who've impressed friendlies under Mick McCarthy, to finally now get their chance in a competitive game?
Yeah, so both of them actually, yes. I'd like to see Josh Cullen giving a run in the holding role in midfield. I think he's potentially the future. I think James McCarthy will hopefully be there for a couple of years to come, but I think Josh is potentially certainly the understudy to James, if not possibly challenging him for the role in the next year or two. So I'd like to see him get a step up. I'm delighted he's gone to Belgium to play for Anderlecht. I think he is a player who probably suits the continental game more than the British game. And playing with a top club in Belgium, appreciate Anderlecht on maybe not the no longer the top club in Belgium that they were for many years, but they still are a huge, massive name, a massive club. So it will be great for him. Yeah, Jack Byrne. I know Jack Byrne is one that divides opinions. I mean, I was saying it on Thursday night. I think he's someone who could pick out a pass and could create the opportunity or even score a goal himself. So yeah, he's definitely one that's I think I'd like to see. I'd like to see him get a run and get some time. I think we probably will see both of them, Gerard, even just for want of necessity, because the players just won't be able to keep going again, having played so many minutes on Thursday night. But I suppose Stephen also has to be cognizant of injuries, and if he brings on his subs too soon, we could be missing. Just to what you think of the comment from Pierce McKittrick there, not unhappy so far, still lacking that goal scoring edge. And performance is good. Would love to see a goal. Yeah, we'd all love to see a goal, Pierce. Hopefully not too far away.
I think just in terms of the goal scoring edge, that's not something that we're just going to develop over games, that Stephen Kenny can just suddenly flick a magic wand and you get into players. It's either the players have it themselves, to have that natural goal scoring instinct, which unfortunately, like Kevin or Shane Long, we've seen down through the years, maybe doesn't always quite have. Dave McGoldrick has all-round play is brilliant, but not known for being a great goal scorer. And we just have to hope that eventually, like these Adam Idas, Darren Conleys, Troy Parris, such, they can eventually kind of Obafemi as well, that they can kind of kick on. So like it's just something that unfortunately, I don't think you can blame the manager. It's just something we haven't had for years. And that's just it's either in the player or it isn't in the player.
I mean, I wasn't one of the people who didn't appreciate Robbie Keane. I really did appreciate him when we had him, and his 68 goals speak for themselves. it always annoyed me a bit when a lot of the fans were saying, well, not a lot, but some fans were saying, all Robbie Keane does is score goals. Well, we really could do with Robbie Keane now. It is his job, and he scored 68 goals. And second in the goal scoring list is probably something like 21, I think. I'd have to look at the record books, but something like that. It's just ridiculous. He scored more than 3 times as many goals as anybody else has ever scored, ever, in the 99 years of the Republic of Ireland football team. Interesting comment there from Paul, watching on from the Aviva Stadium. Would love to see Jack Byrne on soon. And the Welsh do not look great. Yeah, well, I'm not too worried about the Welsh. I'm worried about our team. But and I think we've had a decent performance. But big shout out to Paul, and I hope you're enjoying it in the stadium. And we're not jealous at all, Paul. Don't worry.
No, I love sitting at home watching games and empty stadium, knowing that I could be there. I could be having a great day out. But sure, look, possibly even, who knows, getting a nice bit of vitamin D into you instead of being stuck inside. But sure, that's just the way it is. Just on the Welsh, they haven't, like, if we touched on Aaron Ramsey's a standout name on their team sheet, not really been great. Ben Davies, another player with odds to stand out with Spurs, hasn't really done much down that left-hand side. You're looking to players like Kiefer Moore, who's been in the thick of things. Harry Wilson has kind of started to come into the game a little bit, and the young lad in midfield for Bristol City, Joseph, I have the team here in front of me. I hope I get his name right. Morels. If any Welsh fans are there, let me know. But Joseph is his first name, to Bristol City lad. He's looked pretty impressive in midfield. But as I mentioned, like, none of their big names are standing out, which shows we are doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, and okay, Paul can say the Welsh don't look great, which is fair comment, but we're not allowing them to look great either. So yeah, I've been very happy with the first half, and let's see what the second half brings. But so far so good in my view. I was my expectations went way down when I heard the players were out. Unfortunately, that's just the horrible times we're in with this virus, and it's affected so many squads, so many teams at club and international level. And but having come and from that low, it's been a very encouraging performance in the first half, and I'm certainly been delighted with it so far, and hopefully we can follow on and build on that for the second half. It really would be nice to get a result, and fingers crossed. Come on, you boys in green.
Yeah, as you said, if we can get the 3 points here tonight, it takes the pressure off for a tricky away game against Finland, where we take a point. That leaves us with 5 points, and then, you know, Bulgaria's coming home, who would fancy to win that. That could be enough then to get that second seeding, which is the most important. That is huge. Like, you have to remember, like, the last World Cup qualifying campaign, we were 4th seed, so even to get a playoff was a good achievement. We were a 3rd seed in the last Euro qualifying campaign, and that probably ultimately paid the price for us. So if we can get second seed, it eliminates having to get 2 top teams, eliminates there still is a chance of a group of death, but it's a little bit more smaller, and gives us a great chance to be at a World Cup and possibly be looking ahead to a trip to Qatar in the winter of 2022. But look, none of that is certain at the moment.
Yeah, you never know. Certainly, I think second seeds, as you say, is absolutely crucial. There are currently, if you look at the second pot of seeds, you've got teams like Serbia, a very, very good young Turkish side. The Turkey of a country have been keeping an eye on football terms. I think they're going to get better in the next couple of years. They'll actually do. They could have a good Euros. They're actually in Wales's group in the Euros. You got Ukraine in there as second seeds. Our old friends Denmark and Switzerland are probably flip-flopping between first and second seeds. One of them is going to be a first seed. One of them is going to be a second seed. And but then if you look at all the other first seeds, you've got your Germanys, your Belgiums, your Italy, your England, your France, your Spain. Chances are we're going to get one of the major footballing powers in Europe as our top seed. So then you're probably realistically just looking at playing for a playoff. So yeah, it's going to be difficult. Just follow up on Paul's comment there. I'm not saying anything bad about our performance. Appreciate that, Paul. I'm saying the way we are playing, the Welsh are there for the taking. Yeah,
100%, 100%.
100%. It is a game we can win, and yeah, it's going come on, the second half's actually just kicked off, so bring on.
Yeah. Just actually, Gary, just if you just wouldn't mind for a second, could you just pause yours there just for about maybe 5 or 6 seconds, so I'll be level with you then.
Okay. Yeah.
So what have you on your clock, time wise?
So I'm about 15 now.
Yeah, you can play it now.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we'll be in sync now for this second half, which hopefully will deliver that all-important goal. Just one goal so far this evening, Kenny Renton, and hopefully that first win. And just to make reference to your talk about the seedings and the draw as well, I think one thing we can definitely bank on, regardless of what posh Georgia will be in, UEFA will still find a way to put them in our group.
Yeah, I think it's probably just the look of the draw. It happens like that. I remember we were drawing Cyprus a lot in the early part of this.
That's right. Yeah.
First decade of this century.
Now, given the fact that I went over to the game last year in Tbilisi, it's a city I actually wouldn't mind going back to. I have to say, I very much enjoyed my time over there.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I've actually been there 3 times now in the last, was it 3 times in 5 years? And I actually, Tbilisi is a lovely city, and the Georgians are lovely, really friendly people. But the problem is they're actually a very decent team, and congrats to them. They beat Belarus in their playoff semi-final, so they get to play at home to North Macedonia. And I hope Georgia qualify for the Euros. Big shout out to Georgia. Probably not any Georgian fans watching us, but I've enjoyed my time there, and I actually hope they beat North Macedonia. And good luck to them in their playoff final next month. And it would be a fantastic boost for Georgia football.
They definitely know of taken to, they know when the Irish are in town anyway. I might have even picked up on their GA, the Georgians, because I remember the day after we played Georgia over there last year, I was going around Tbilisi with my local club GA jersey on it. And a young Georgian fan knew it because he said, we were the better team against you yesterday. Knew straight away from looking at a GA jersey I was Irish. But yeah, they have a great chance to make the Euros because Kosovo will have been the favourites, not just to beat North Macedonia, but to win that group because they gave England a couple of headaches in qualifying. And I said it to Paul the other night, if they get there, I don't expect them to take any points or to make the knockout stages, but every team that will be coming away from a match against Georgia will know that they were in a game. Like, apart from us, they drew with Denmark at home as well last year. And I think I'm correct in saying as well, Switzerland had to get a late goal to beat them in their penultimate match.
Yeah, they certainly caused Switzerland problems. I think in the very first game of the group, I think it was well into the second half before Switzerland scored in Tbilisi. And did the Swiss have to do a bit of work to beat them in their home game? Was that in St. Gallen or someplace like that? I know it wasn't in one of the regular Swiss venues anyway. I think they certainly made the Swiss work. They're actually a decent side. They play some good football. We needed that Conor Hourihane free kick to beat them in Dublin as well, just the one goal. The other leg of that was North Macedonia, Kosovo, which is, well, it's a local derby, 2 neighbouring countries with very different, I suppose, how do I put this diplomatically, but certainly they wouldn't exactly be friends of each other. And they would have been at war not too long ago in the war in the Balkans. They would have been on different sides there. So it would have been, I imagine, I don't think fans were allowed at that game. I don't know, actually. Maybe someone can give me a shout out if there were fans, if anyone was watching that. But that would have been a very, very tasty game if fans were allowed, particularly if away fans. Because Kosovo have potentially been a coming team in international football. There's certainly probably another team to avoid when you go down into those pots because they're going to cause problems.
They're still going to have that lower seed because that was only their second ever qualifying campaign as a nation, and we know from playing those under 21 level in Noel King's last campaign, they weren't bad. We actually were lucky to scrape a draw over there. Roland Kirsch scored, and we only bet them 1-0. In Tala, second half is nearly 5 minutes old. If you're just tuning in, it's myself here, Ger Brown, and Gary Spain, fresh from being at the match on Thursday night, watching this watch-along for Ireland versus Wales in the Nations League. 0-0. Game, of course, as a touchdown, is live on either Sky Sports main event, Sky Sports Football. I presume one of them is for the fake crowd noise, one of them is for the actual noise from the stadium. Doesn't seem to be any changes at half-time, Gary, and so far the second half hasn't really kind of caught light, which is probably no major surprise, although Ireland just on the attack here now with Robbie Brady.
Are you still there, Ger?
I am, yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there. Maybe one of us had an internet problem. Yeah, can I just go back and talk about Kosovo? Because just one thing to mention.
Yeah.
I actually made that under-21 game in 2018. It was the day after I won't talk too much about that game in Cardiff when we lost 4-1. But our next game was actually in Wrocław, a friendly against Poland. So I had a rather circuitous route to Poland, and I went via Kosovo. And it was a bit of a nightmare trip because it was actually on the next afternoon. But yeah, it is a good point. They actually had a very decent under-21 side, and we were a bit fortunate to get a draw. Ronan Curtis scored a lovely goal, as you said, and but they had some lovely footballers, and they're very, very, very proud people, and football daft. And the game was actually played up north of the country. I can't actually for the life of me remember the name of the town, even though I was at the game. But we did get to stay in Pristina, which is the capital, and see the new national stadium as it was just being built. And they've a fantastic stadium, holds about 12 or 13,000. But I actually know from an England fan that was actually there for their game that it was a fantastic atmosphere. And they had a brilliant time when they were there. So even though I said it's probably one to avoid, and I certainly mean avoid from a footballing sense, from a fan's perspective, they would be a great team to draw. And I think Pristina would be an amazing trip. But anyway, I from a footballing perspective, I think Stephen would probably like to avoid them. There are certainly going to be easier draws, whatever pot they end up in for this World Cup draw.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a good chance of the qualifying campaign starting in March that we still probably won't be allowed to definitely attend away matches. They're about home games. Just out of interest for that under-21 game, and maybe you go to a lot of the away on international qualifiers, I'm not too sure. Was there actually many Irish fans at that game, or do many Irish fans go to these away international games at underage level?
So you typically wouldn't have too many. I don't get to make too many, but I do kind of take a look at the fixtures and see if I can slot something in. So when we played in Poland a few years ago, I managed to come home via Italy and see the under-21s in Old Kingside lose, unfortunately, to Italy. You get the odd fans. There was one other fan did what I did and was in Cardiff and also made it to, for the life of me, I cannot think of the name of the town in northern Kosovo. And another Irish fan actually didn't go to Cardiff because he was fed up. He'd seen enough of Cardiff with the friendly, and he just went to Kosovo because he wanted to see the country. But typically you wouldn't see too many fans, except maybe families of the players. Although I think more of the 17s and 19s, you do tend to see more families when their son or daughter actually as well is younger, so they're less likely to make it to the under-21s or games. I did actually make it to Toulon, to one of the games in Toulon tournament when Stephen Kenny was manager, and so the again, it was mainly the families that were there in the south of France. But certainly Stephen actually made quite an impression with the under-21s. And he did actually from day one, which I think led to a lot of optimism for when he came into the senior squad as well. And he certainly transformed our under-21s, because we haven't really contended to qualify for any under-21 tournament for donkey's years, really.
Yeah.
And it's we have a really great chance, and that Italy game on Tuesday is one of the games I want to actually check if there's going to be, if it goes ahead. I believe it is going ahead. I know Italy have had their own COVID issues. We've had problems with our senior team. They've had issues in their under-21s, and their game against Iceland was called off. But that game on Tuesday is absolutely crucial for the under-21s. And if we can manage a score draw in Italy, the group is totally in our hands. And even if we lose, we still have a good chance of qualifying as best runners up. So yeah, certainly good times for the under-21s, and potentially if we're not allowed into senior games in March.
Just a chance there for Shane Long. I don't know if
Shane Long. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He just headed just over. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, if anything, Gary, I'd say you can rewind your TV a bit forward because you seem to be a few seconds behind me now, actually. But yeah, that was a good break from Ireland. Hendrick coming away the ball, picked out McLean on the left, good cross in, and Shane Long, I wasn't too sure whether he was going to be flagged for offside. Seemed as if he wasn't going to be. Free header. In the end, it was actually quite a good bit over the bar. Should have came closer, but best chance the second half so far anyway. What's not been the prettiest start, and Wales seems to be just getting a little bit more on control, but we've won the ball back here now again. I think it was Conor Hourihane paying it back to Shane Duffy. So hopefully we can build on that opportunity. And just go to pick out one of the points from your last discussion there, Gary. I'm pretty sure you enjoyed your time at South France at that Toulon tournament.
Yeah, it was actually quite a flying visit because I only got in for one game, but we've actually played in it a few times, and I actually, it was the first time I was ever able to get to go, and I only managed to make one game. But yeah, it's a beautiful part of the world, and I would love to go for longer if we do decide to play in it or get invited to play in it again. Beautiful part of the world, and yeah, highly recommended. So it's not just a place to go for football.
Yeah, it's definitely been well known and well publicised for being a beautiful area if you want to get your sunshine and your tan and all that in. And also as well, I know there was talks. Niall Quinn was saying that night up in Dundalk, me and Paul were at back in February, that he was going to change that area proposal to get Dublin 21s to be in the Toulon tournament this year. I think it's brilliant because any little experience you can get of playing tournament football and what it's like to be playing games every 3 or 4 days and to be in camp and stuff like that, and the feel and the environment for it is huge. And that's why it's so massive that we get to the 21 championships next summer. And in a way, for the 21 sake, the seniors not being there is a little bit blessed in disguise because players like Jason Malumbi, Aaron Conley, Adam Ida, if we want to use them, they're all there and now available. And I think we should, because we should give everything we have to try and go out and do as best as we can in that tournament. If we get there, we still have 3 more games of qualifying, so let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, the problem will be, though, the tournament is going to be held in next March when the World Cup qualifying starts.
Yeah.
So maybe some of those players will be needed to help us qualify for the World Cup. But yeah, they were. Well, first of all, it would be amazing, and I think it would give. I know a lot of the England players have talked about how playing in under-21 tournaments has really helped their development. And of course, Gareth Southgate cut his teeth as well as an under-21 manager. And I think in fairness, I'm obviously no fan of England, and I see them as our major rivals. That's carrying on from a discussion in the preview we had with Paul about, well, whether we want Northern Ireland to win or not. Certainly, I see England as our fiercest rival. But in fairness, Gareth Southgate has done a fantastic job with them. And I know a lot of the players have actually mentioned how much playing in under-21 tournaments has helped. And I know our players have benefited from playing in 17s, 19s. Like Aaron Connolly was a star at 17s. Guys like Leo Connor coming through, Jonathan Afolabi, they haven't made, well, Leo Connor has got a cap, but they're not in the senior squad at the moment, or haven't really kicked on across the water yet. But for the likes of these players to be playing in an under-21 tournament would be absolutely huge. You're up against the cream of the crop at that age group in Europe. And I mean, we're talking about they're going to Italy on Tuesday. And with Drew with the Mentala, we have a really, really good chance of getting a result on Tuesday night. And as I said, if we get a score draw, the group is in our hands. If we draw 1-1, 2-2 with Italy and win at home to Iceland and away to Luxembourg, then we win the under-21 qualifying group and we qualify. If we draw 0-0, probably still go through as actually a best runner-up.
Oh, good swing across from Robbie Brady on the right-hand side, but had too much almost in a cross out. Sorry, Gary.
Sorry, lost you there for a second. I just wanted the under-21
just saying
watching out for.
Just saying, we had another decent opportunity. Robbie Brady was a cross from the right-hand side, but unfortunately, just too much on it, and it harmlessly went out wide. But a little bit more encouraging. Wales look like they're about to prepare a double substitution, so it'll be interesting to see what they throw up. And just for that under-21 tournament, obviously if it gets to finals, because of the situation we find ourselves in, it's going to be played over 2 stages. So even if we do get past the group stages and get to knockout stages in late May, June, I presume Euro qualifier or World Cup qualifiers will still go on before the Euros. So Stephen Kenny will still want access to some of them players, even if we do get beyond the group stages. So it is going to be someone, either Stephen Kenny or Jim Crawford, one of them is going to have one hand, if not 2 hands, tied behind their back, as Ireland looked like they've won another free kick there for a heavy collision on Robbie Brady. Yeah, elbow in there from Joseph Moeller, the Bristol City lad. But 15 minutes gone, Gary.
Even the under-21 tournaments are going to run in. Yeah, so we're just past the hour mark. Yeah. It just
seems to be a little bit of a lag there with us. So if you just bear patient, we'll hold back as one of us is talking, so we won't end up talking over each other. Just saying there, obviously, the under-21s, obviously there is going to be the overlap now with the seniors, obviously because of the Euros being put back for summer. That's just the way it is. But 16 minutes now gone, Gary. Not much has happened so far in the second half. Just I say that Hendrick has a cross, but it's well blocked.
Yeah, let me have a look and see what UEFA are saying with the stats. So actually, Wales have come right back in the possession stakes. It's now down to 54-46, whereas we had 62% at half time, and their passing accuracy has got quite close to ours as well. We still 8 attempts to 4, but we still haven't had an effort on target. 7 off target and 1 blocked. And they still haven't added to their effort on target from just an offside there.
Yeah, good ball though from Robbie Brady.
Robbie Brady was, yeah.
We seem to just going on that. We seem to be taking a little bit more risks and kind of a bit more expensive now when we're playing the second half, and just kind of like, right, let's try and see if we can get in behind this defence.
Yeah, and I mean, so maybe Stephen has decided to actually go for it. And I think if you actually notice that in the first period of extra time, in particular in Bratislava, I thought we really went for it then. And we did take more chances. We were the ones that tried to win the game in extra time. I don't think we did enough, in fairness, to deserve to win the game. But we did. We could have won it. We had chances, and we did definitely take risks. Maybe even as well in the last few minutes of normal time, that great Conor Hourihane chance. But so maybe we're going to go for it now in the last half an hour and really try and win this game, because a win would be a great boost. It would give Stephen his first win, which I think will be crucial, and certainly ease a lot of relegation fears and keep us in contention to possibly win the Nations League and possibly keep that second seeding for the World Cup.
Yeah, which is absolutely huge for that draw coming ahead next month. Just coming out the ball there, Matt Doherty. There's to Shane Duffy. I'd say Doherty so far, even though it hasn't really been tested, but he's slotted in nicely at centre back since the injury to Kevin Long. Conor Hourihane now just out to Enda Stevens. Mind melt there for a second.
Keeping the ball nicely there, yeah.
Just kind of slowing down the play a little bit, but then we decided to go along with Doherty. Hendrick there was our furthest man forward. Wales deal with it. Back with McLean now. Goes back into Malumbi, who's continued to look well in the second half. Is that Robbie Brady with a through ball? The ball off the top of Wales headed out, but McLean again. Yeah, Hendrick. Malumbi with a poor tempo, let him off. Probably the only mistake the young lad has had today. But Wales now look like they could hit us here in the break, Gary.
Yeah, the Wales are breaking away there. It could be left a little light at the back, but I think we're just slowing them down, and they're being forced out wide. Yeah, I think that's okay.
Yeah, we have enough numbers back now. Stevens, Doherty even, I think it was. There's got just far to see, just a laptop just a bit far away from me, over the far side, and it's the sun also is popping back out. Over on that left-hand side. Well. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got the ball back anyway, and we're just comfortable enough playing around the back.
Yeah, Shane Duffy now with it. Gives out to Cyrus Christie, who looks up, gives it into Robbie Brady, who comes back in more central, which is on to Conor Hourihane. Now picks out Jason Malumbi, who's got a good bit of space ahead of him. And Malumbi drives into that space, but gives it then back to Robbie Brady a little bit more central. Brady then decides to switch up the play, but unfortunately, it was not a good delivery, and it's easily gone out for a Wales goal kick. But just the camera just showing Stephen Kenny, he's kind of clapping his hands, shouting encouragement. I think he's has to be happy enough, and he's with the mindset and what we're trying to do anyway.
Yeah, I mean that didn't come off there from Robbie Brady, but we did keep the ball. It was a reasonable passage of play. Unfortunately, the killer pass there wasn't to be. But I think Robbie is trying to do those. He did try to get one to James McLean there just a couple of minutes ago as well, and it just didn't work out. He nearly got to it, but it's good to see Robbie getting on the ball. And maybe if we put Jack Byrne in beside him, that would really be a sign that we could. I know this is one that divides opinion, but I would like to see Jack tried out, because he's just playing so well with Shamrock Rovers, and he didn't look out of place in the Europa League either, against the likes of Ilves and particularly against Milan. So I think this Nations League is for experimenting, and I think I'd like to see Jack Byrne getting a run out. I think Wales are making a couple of substitutions here now.
Yeah, Matthew Smith is coming off, and it's going to be Levesh that's coming on, number 18. And they had another player warming up, so I presume, would they carry on with a double substitution, or would it just be a singular substitution? They have a free kick, of course. Robbie Brady giving away a foul on Ben Davis on the right-hand side, Wayne Hennessy taking it. It is actually a double substitution. It's Harry Wilson that's coming off. And we'll just wait to see who's going to flick up on the board to replace him.
That's the Liverpool lad, isn't it?
Liverpool for Liverpool. It's Nico Williams that's coming on for him. Of course, who got the winning goal for them.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it's just on the substitution front. It's very surprising considering that we have. Well, maybe I wouldn't mind Shane Duffy as much because he's in the back, but you look at the midfield. You have Hendrick and Hourhan. They're still out there after 120 minutes on Thursday night. We've played 67 minutes of this game. And no change yet, whereas Wales now have made a double substitution halfway through the second half. This is the time period where we would have expected Ireland to make their second substitution of this game after the enforced substitution of Kevin Long in the first half.
Yeah, I would expect one probably in the next couple of minutes, really. I think it's probably going to happen. As you said, Connor and Jeff in midfield have had quite a lot of minutes in their legs in the last 3 or 4 days. So yeah, it's going to be. I think we will see some changes. I wouldn't be surprised to see Seanie Maguire sprung from the bench as well, and we'll see. I haven't seen anything on the screen of any. It's one of the advantages or disadvantages of not being there is we can't see if anyone's warming up or likely to be coming on.
Yeah, the only thing is it was kind of flagged. I touched on it maybe about 3 or 4 minutes before it happened. You could see the Wales were preparing the two players and they're showing them warming up. We haven't seen the camera focus down on the Irish touchline and any players warming up or taking off the bibs and getting ready to come on. So it is a little bit interesting from that point of view. Yeah, Maguire I think could be a good one to come on. I think at this stage the game is getting a little bit more stretched, a little bit more tired. He's got good pace. Darrell Horgan, of course, who's got his way back into the squad because of injuries. He's got that good move. I think it was a very good move for him to get back to the championship with Wycombe Wanderers. He's playing regular football, so he'd be sharp and fresh if he was to be called upon. But yeah, I'd like to see Jack Byrne come on as well. I think he's shown any time he's on the European stage with Shamrock Rovers, whether this year or last year, that he's got that class. I think he looks very, very neat and comfortable on the ball. And you have nothing to lose. It's a competitive game with that friendly feel, so there doesn't have that much at stake. So you're going to have to try him out at some stage.
Yeah, I think he'll bring us something different as well. I mean, we can talk about Darrell Horgan, we can talk about Seanie Maguire and the likes of them coming on, but we have that style of player. But I think I'd like to see Jack Byrne because I don't think there is anyone on the pitch with or else in the squad that Jack's style of play. Now I know people are going to argue and say he's playing at Shamrock Rovers and it's a massive step up to international football. It is, but I mean, Jack is the best player in our league and he's playing really, really well. And I agree. I think the Nations League is partly for experimentation and I'd like to see it. I suppose Stephen might be looking 20 minutes to go. Does he gamble and try and win the game and possibly lose it? So, yeah, it's a difficult one, but I would like to see Jack.
Yeah, I know your point from Stephen could be looking and thinking we look in position to win this game. Neither team really looks like they're really going to go on it and take control in the last 20 minutes and get a point on the board. But like we talk about trying to get that second seed and finishing second in the group should be enough for that. Like if we do end up drawing this game, it does put pressures on them to go to Finland or go to Wales to win. Whereas I feel like this game is there for the taking if we really want to go for it. And then like I'd fancy our chances to beat Bulgaria at home and then get a point in one of the last 2 away matches. Just coming away here now with Jeff Hendrick after being fed in by Jay Malumbi. He's given it back to Malumbi. We don't have that many numbers in the box. Malumbi's quite isolated down on the right hand side. Hendrick came to support him, but poor touch from Hendrick, and Wales break away now with Conor Roberts. And he's given it to Kiefer Moore, who switches to play now over to their right hand side. And can't quite see because the camera angle who's on the ball for them.
I actually find it very hard to see the Welsh numbers. I don't know whether it's the yellow and green.
The yellow jersey, yeah.
Yeah. It's
well, I suppose a lot of it is I'm so familiar with the stance and the faces and the body position the Irish players instantly know straight away. The last time I probably watched Wales was probably that time they came to Aviva 2 years ago. So I wouldn't be that familiar with the players apart from I don't watch a savage amount of championship football. So I wouldn't be awfully familiar with a lot of the players. And it looks like it's going to be Daryl Horgan and Shane Maguire.
Yeah, that was a good block there by Shane Duffy. That was an effort on goal from Wales. There was gone out for a corner. Yeah, and as you say, just as we've been talking about substitutions, your hotline to Stephen Kenny obviously worked there because he's taken your advice.
I've thrown my phone out the window now. Let's see how Wales get on with this corner kick first. I imagine substitution could happen at the next break and play. Wales go short with it, but it's a poor delivery and it's well defended by our new centre-back, Matt Doherty. Don't think that's a phrase I'm going to get used to saying too much, Matt Doherty at centre-back. But shown today, if needed in emergency situations, he can do it. Cyrus Christie thought he'd done enough to only give away a throw-in, but it's actually going to be a free kick for coming in from behind. No, it's a throw-in, actually. Thought the referee was going to penalise him for coming in from behind, but he hasn't. So Wales will build again now on their left-hand side.
Still no substitution though.
No. Robbie Brady coming away with the ball. He's been heavily involved in the tick of the action this second half, and you can't fault the Baldoria man for his effort anyway as he plays the ball up the line, but it actually, I think, went out for a throw and Cyrus Christie was never going to get on it.
Just a shout out to just a bit unfortunate for Kevin Long. I suppose today in many ways was his chance to shine and probably keep his place for Finland on Wednesday. And really unlucky and unfortunate for him having to go off so early as the substitutions have been made, and it is Daryl Horgan and Shawnee Maguire to come on, and it looks like Robbie Brady and
is one player, yeah. Well, I think had a good game today.
Yeah, Robbie Brady has played really well, and his set piece delivery has been key, really crucial. So I think that's Conor Horahan back on set pieces now. Shawnee Maguire for Shane Long. Yeah, I don't think Shane probably did enough today he does run a lot of channels, does do a lot of running off the ball, but it can be harder to judge this from a TV screen rather than from watching in the stadium. But he certainly didn't stake a claim for a place today in the future. So
no, and there wasn't even that much of him running the channels. And you look back, and he had that chance in the start of the second half, and he should have at least kept his head on target as we lose the ball in midfield, and we've probably now given away a free kick as well. But yeah, I suppose the things you'd be looking after the two players that just left the pitch in Long and Brady. The two players that have struggled to get game time on the club front this season. And from Brady's point of view, I think he's done himself no harm over the last couple of days. And I would definitely expect him to feature again on Wednesday night. But you just wonder with Shane Long, has that lack of game time with Southampton kind of come back to bite him from an Irish point of view, especially today?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Shane is one of those players, very much a confidence player, and when he's on a run of form, either at club or international level, it can transfer from one to the other. And unfortunately, when he's off form, we can also see that as well. And I think I don't think Shane's at his best at the moment. Yeah, Robbie Brady will definitely feature. He's not, as you say, getting much game time at club level, but I thought he did well on Thursday when he came on, and I thought he had a very good game today, and I'd actually expect him to start. I presume he's still fit. It's just he hasn't got match fit. I don't think he went off injured there. I think it was just tactical, or maybe just tiredness from not having had too much game time at club level. Chance there.
Daryl Horgan puts in a low cross with plenty of pace on it, but unfortunately nothing comes of it. Wales end up clearing it and getting out for throws. Jay Malumbi actually got the ball just caught a little bit in his feet, but he was at the heart of that move again. Malumbi was actually who get the ball out wide to Horgan. Great to see him then continue his run, get into the box, but I think the ball was just hit at so much pace he just didn't have time to kind of get it under control. Unfortunately, that throw in from us has come from nothing as Wales now come away on the left hand side. No, it didn't seem. Brady didn't look like a player that was struggling with an injury or a niggle is the reason we're taking off. I think it was purely just tactical. Like you look at the replacement that came on from Daryl Horgan, it was a like for like replacement. So you wouldn't be thinking that it was anything that from a physical point of view, apart from maybe just being tired, as Wales look like they're going to make their third substitution.
Yeah, so this is Daniel James coming off.
Yeah.
And this is actually a player I really like, David Brooks.
Yeah, he's been struggling with injuries the last while.
He has had bad injuries, but he's a really good player. I actually had a very good game in that. I don't want to mention that game again, with that 4-1 game in Cardiff. He had a really good game in that, and he's hopefully I'm wrong on this, but he's someone who could cause us problems when he comes on. And
big time, yeah. Just
probably a bit.
You're saying, Gary? Sorry, just a lag again between us.
Yeah, probably just a bit more quality than Daniel James. Daniel James is a bit of pace at Man United, but I don't think he's the kind of the quality of a player that you have. And was just a good chance there for Daryl Horgan, but David Brooks is more of a cultural player who can pick out a pass and maybe create a chance. So that was just over the bar there from Daryl Horgan.
Well, he got two bites to the cherry. The first header was probably just lacked a little bit of power, so that's why he was cleared off the line. Second one, just bobbled up in front of him, and he kind of seemed to snatch at it. But again, look, it's another decent chance. That's two good chances or two opportunities we've now had the last 4 or 5 minutes. Again, Wales, like, they've had probably more of the balls you touched on with the UEFA stats in the second half. But again, Darren Randolph's goal has been very, very quiet.
Yeah, it has. And I mean, just that one save in the first half. Having said that, Wayne Hennessy hasn't had to make any saves.
Yeah, so we've had. I shouldn't be saying anything.
Yeah, we have had 11. I mean, I'm just looking at the UEFA stats again here. So we've had 11 goals. It's probably actually not even updated for Daryl Horgan yet, because there is a couple of minutes behind. So we've 11 goal attempts to their 5. And possibly, I don't know if they'll count Daryl's as 12 and 13, certainly another one anyway. And so, yeah, we've had more of the possession. We've had more of the chances, but we haven't managed to get any on target. We've had 9 efforts off target, and two of them have been blocked. And so it's probably a bit of a disappointment there. A yellow card for James
McLean. Yeah, he picked up a yellow card there. First Irish player, if I'm correct in saying, to be booked.
But I don't know if he's yet there.
Yeah, he tripped.
Yeah, he's trod on the heels. Yeah, he's trod on the heel of the.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was kind of quite a painful one, actually.
I think it's Rondon, the centre back at Swansea.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's a free out for Wales just inside their own box as we now enter the 79th minute of this game. Still 0-0. Still not a savage amount of report on the second half. It's probably, if anything, been a little bit more or less in quality than the first half. It's kind of just petered out. Ireland having a couple of chances. Shane Long with a header over the bar. Daryl Horgan had 2 chances there with a header. I wouldn't even say clear off the line, but it was heading that direction and was cleared away before he blasted his second attempt over the bar. Wales not really creating much. Point for them would still leave them in a very strong position in terms of this group. Leave them with 7 points, obviously, with Finland and Bulgaria to play later. And of course, we could really do with this win, not even just if we want to top this group, but just to kind of keep that seeding up as we now come away here with Cyrus Christie. Good link-up play there with Shane Maguire onto Darrell Horgan. Can you get the cross in? Yes, he can, but straight at Wayne Hennessy. Didn't even really, just a hanging cross. Like, it was a nice one for the goalkeeper. Like, there was no pace on it.
Yeah, he just came and claimed it very well, actually, Hennessy. But it was a nice height, as you say. But I suppose if anyone, look, it does starting to look very much like a scoreless draw. But if anyone looks like to win it, it is us. Just maybe need to, well, at least make Hennessy make a couple of saves, just test the keeper, and maybe go back and try a couple of those shots that we had, a couple that went just off target in the first half. Maybe if we get one of those and goal. And just as I speak, the ball is coming to Jeff Hendrick, but no, it's on target, but it's quite an easy save.
It's comfort. I think Wayne Hennessy didn't quite see who it was, but he didn't seem the most comfortable striking the ball. I think he even had to push an Irish player off his way. Like, there was kind of, it was in the Shane Maguire. Just two of them kind of seemed to be getting in each other's way. Good position for a shot, but it seemed to be a comfortable enough save for Wayne Hennessy. Like you said, they probably had the accuracy in target, but didn't really have much pace or power behind it. So it was never going to trouble the Welsh goalkeeper as they now start to build. Well, I was going to say they look like they're going to build attack come down the left, but they're just actually now passing the ball, going across the pitch and content. And like I said, maybe their mindset was coming to this game was to take a draw if it's there for the taking. We've done a lot of hard work in September, winning our first 2 games. We're in a position where a draw wouldn't be the end of the result for us. They have Bulgaria on Wednesday, and I don't know whether or not they're at home or not, but that's a game that they will fancy their chances. Bulgaria, of course, very similar situation to ourselves at the moment. They're going to be in the low after they were well beaten by Hungary in their playoff the other night. So Wales will definitely fancy their chances of taking care of them as we now overturn the Welsh and start to build ourselves out from the back with Conor Hourihane. But that's a very, very sloppy pass, Gary.
Yeah, actually, the Wales are away in Sofia on Wednesday. They've 2 away games in this. Well, actually 3 away games if you count the England friendly.
That's right.
So a poor pass there, but thankfully we managed to clear it. No damage done.
Yeah, and James McLean now actually goes in strong there twice.
He's just.
Is he going to get a second yellow? It looks like he is.
Oh, it is. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, that is this.
Yeah, and moments after only picking up a yellow card, James McLean has now been sent off for 2 yellow cards. I haven't seen a replay of it yet, but when I seen him go in after the second time, he doesn't look one bit happy. He's not making the situation any better himself. He's going up to the injured Wales players, who number 15 Ethan Ampadu, and the Wales players obviously then retaliate back with him. But Ireland are now going to have to play the last 7 minutes plus injury time. A man like Gary.
Yeah, no, and it was a bit reckless. He'll probably say he got the ball first, but I think it was reckless. And I don't think we can criticise the referee for that, unfortunately. It's a different outlook now for the last 7 minutes left plus added time. Down to 10 men, and I think we just take, if we can now, just take 0-0. But
I know, as you touched on there, like, he might have got the ball first, and obviously he's angry and frustrated, and he reckons Ampadu is making much more of it. But like, does common sense ever come into the question here of James McLean? Like, you're just after you getting your card, the foul is out on the wing on the halfway line. There's no immediate danger. Like, what other outcome was he expecting there to come?
Yeah, no, I mean, you do as a player, you need to be, especially when you just pick up a yellow card, you need to just temper your performance and just be careful. Daniel Deneen is asking in the comments, will James McLean miss the next game? Yeah, Daniel, unfortunately, it's 2 yellow cards will be 1 match suspension, so he's out of the Finland game without question. There's no way of appealing that or anything. When it's 2 yellows, and even it's very unlikely to appeal a red anyway. So yeah, he's out of the Finland game. It will only be 1 match because it's 2 yellow cards. And if the squad wasn't depleted enough already, we're going to be down another player for Helsinki on Wednesday night.
Obviously, sorry, my earpiece just fell out there. Are we now in a situation like where we can call up more players? Long looks like he's probably going to be out if he's got concussion. McLean is suspended. Like, can we call up 2 more players into the squad? Possibly even 7 if you actually include the 5 players that are ruled out today due to the COVID-19.
Yeah, so I believe I'm not 100% clear on the rules, but I believe we can. They would probably need to go through COVID testing, etc. But I still believe there is an opportunity after each game to call more players into the squad. I mean, if not, I don't know what we'd actually end up doing, because can Caoimhín Kelleher or Mark Travers play outfield at this stage? But because we're going to be really, really depleted, and
big time, like.
Yeah.
And like, we already had to send Darren Conley and Adam White home in the end. We didn't have to. Like, you're looking at as well in the 21s, they're involved Tuesday night, so I might even struggling to think who you could possibly call up. Jimmy Dunn would probably spring to mind from Burnley. Kieran Sadler of Rotherham. Like, you'd probably have to have a squad to sit down and think about. Just trying to think as well in them type of positions. It is hard to know. Anyone else spring to your mind, Gary?
Yeah. Well, you see, you mentioned under 21s. I mean, I think Jim Crawford is probably going to be covering his face at the television as well and saying, will Stephen come looking? Because there's a lot of players in that under 21 squad that he could come looking for. And like Sir Michael Obafemi, Will Smallbone, Darragh O'Shea. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's will he go to the under 21 squad? It's such a crucial game against Italy. I mean, if he takes the heart out of the under 21 squad, is he going to destroy our chances of qualifying? A campaign that Stephen himself was instrumental in making it so successful. It's a tough one. I don't know. What do you think, folks? Do you who would you like to see called in?
I think if you were to weigh up the importance of the senior game versus the importance of the 21 game, I think it'd be really, really harsh if we were to go to private and, like I said, call up the likes of maybe a Darragh O'Shea. Some of these players, like, it'd be a massive, massive blow to the under 21s, like Dory Down, like Darren Conley, Adam Ida, Jay Malumbi, who all played crucial parts qualifying last year, obviously deservedly so because they stood out at club level. It would be tough. It's just a very, very tricky situation. Like, if Stephen Kenny was to go down that route, like, could you really honestly blame him? Like, at the end of the day, a lot of everything that has gone wrong over the last couple of days has been out of his control. It's just a situation that we find ourselves in. But look, let's hope we can get through the rest of this.
Wales nearly got in there down the left, but it's been cleared. But I mean, I'm not necessarily blaming him. Look, Stephen's now the senior team manager, and his focus has got to be on the senior team. I just think, I mean, from Jim Crawford's perspective, we're in such a fantastic position, and I don't know, Jar, as a fan, I'm torn. I'm torn to actually what I want to see, to be honest, because I'd really love us to get to an under 21 finals, and I mean, we're away to Italy. It's going to be very, very tough as it is. And as you said, you've already taken the likes of Jay Malumbi, Aaron Connolly and Adam Ida out of the under 21 squad. And if you go in and take 3 or 4 more, I mean, look, it's going to be very tough going to Italy at the best of times.
Yeah.
So, and make it really bad. A free kick here to Wales at the edge of the box as well, which you need to be careful of.
Careful, yeah. Obviously, we've gone from a situation where, like, 5-10 minutes ago, like, we could possibly really kick on and win this game if we wanted to go for it. And now we're a man short. You know, a draw probably wouldn't be a disaster in this situation, given that we have to play with 10 men. But yeah, of course, the only thing that maybe might solve that situation with the under-21s, it's not ideal for them either after all this time preparing for it. But if that game does actually end up getting called off again because of Italy's situation with the COVID-19, Jay Malumbi is walking off, and he's replaced by Josh Cullen. So he's now officially tied down as an Irish player, thankfully. Not that I think there was any danger of being called up to England, but any potential rumours of being another Declan Rice can finally be put to bed.
Okay, well, I'll give you another one from left field, which is probably a bit odd is Joe Hodge at Manchester City, who plays in a similar position. He's only 17 or 18, and it might be no harm in being a bit Machiavellian here and giving him a run out against
promote him straight up from the 19s to senior, bypassed the 21s. Yeah, he was very impressive for the 17s at the tournament last summer in Armenia.
Yeah, no, having said that, Ger, unfortunately, FIFA are talking about changing the rules. So even if he did play for us, that up to 21, I think they're talking about it. I don't know if it's actually come in yet, but they're talking about changing the rules so that players can still change even if they played a competitive international before their 21st birthday. So I'm just going to see now, we've got 4 minutes of added time.
4 minutes of injury time. We've played nearly 30 seconds of that. But maybe more. My internet just dropped there for a second, so my Sky Go stream could even be a little bit further behind. But yeah, you just wonder. Jay Molumby looked a bit tired coming off there, so you kind of wonder only for that, like, will we even made another substitution? Again, you question, like, maybe why wasn't this substitution made a little bit earlier? And again, why isn't it one of the lads that played Thursday night? I know Molumby then obviously looked like he had to go off. He seemed to be limping a small bit.
Yeah, he did put in a great shift, actually. I hope he's okay for Wednesday, because I think he definitely deserves to start again on Wednesday. Didn't look anything too serious, so but I think now it's just a matter of, I think it would be desperately unlucky if we were to concede. So just a matter of seeing the game out. Definitely take 0-0 at this point.
100%, yeah.
Just going back to the stats again, and UEFA.com, we've got 12 attempts, saying 10 on target. 10 off target, one on target, and one blocked. And Wales have had 6, and 2 on target, 2 off target, and 2 blocked. And the possession has gone down to 52-48. So certainly Wales have bossed the ball in the second half without taking too many chances, as a corner comes in, but Darren Randolph punches it clear. So we've just had 2 minutes of the 4 added time now at this stage.
Yeah, just obviously Paul will be dealing with it later when he gives his players reviews from the Aviva Stadium and some of his match reaction. But just from your own point of view, Gary, if you had to pick out someone and you were to give your man of the match to from an Irish point of view, who would you be looking towards?
Yeah, I pick out Jay Molumby, actually. I thought he had a really good game. He impressed in midfield. Certainly didn't look out of place, and I thought he's certainly strongly in contention to start again on Wednesday night or Wednesday evening. It's an early kickoff, a 7 o'clock finish time, 5 o'clock our time. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Jar? Who would your man of the match be?
Yeah, I think it'd be hard to look past Jay Molumby. He's had that most presence in midfield. Probably benefit from the fact he was fresher than Hourihane and Hendrick around. I thought Hendrick, in fairness, done well. I thought Brady had a good game, especially in the second half. I thought he was involved a lot of Ireland's play. At the back, Randolph hasn't really been involved in the game much. Centre back, Stuffy's been okay. Doherty's done well, I have to say. Scotland centre back didn't really have much to do. And I mentioned up front, Long didn't really have much impact in the game. Substitutions, Horgan, I think, has probably had more of the impact out of the two of them. But I wouldn't disagree with you on your decision to give it to Jason Molumby one bit.
Okay, so we'll both go with Jay then. Yeah, I thought. So,
Paul obviously still
the last few seconds here.
Yeah. I'm not actually 100% sure who Sky Sports are giving to. I had the volume down on my laptop and it hasn't cleared up on the screen. I did see them zoom in the camera on Jeff Hendrick there a couple of moments ago, so I thought maybe that might have been it, but there was nothing confirmed from that. Yeah, it does look like it's going to peter out now into a 0-0 draw, and I just reached the conclusion of the 4 minutes. And it is all over.
The final whistle has just been blown there.
So another draw for Stephen Kenny. If you talk about competitive action in football, that's 3 draws now from his 4 games. Another 0-0 draw. I suppose a goal draw continues for Ireland, 3 games now without scoring. But overall, a decent performance. I wouldn't go waxing lyricals about it or sing about of the highest praise, but when you take everything into consideration, disappointment from Thursday, all the off the field hassle, this was a standard of opposition for me would be an improvement from what we will face Thursday. It's not the worst result in the results, is it, Gary?
No, I mean, I was reasonably happy. It's a decent performance, not a one to shout from the rooftops, but
no.
I think it was important to avoid defeat. It's another clean sheet. It's a second clean sheet in a row now for Stephen Kenny, and let's look to the positives on that. And stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more content on the channel. I'm going to do 3 talking points and an instant match reaction. Paul is going to be on from the Aviva with his after-match reaction, and hopefully some stuff from the press conference as well.
Yeah, so plenty to keep you entertained. Come up here on the channel over the evening. As soon as obviously all that is done with Gary and Paul, they'll obviously get it up for you there as well. Just another good start for that, Gary. I think that's now our 13th draw in competitive matches since 2017 out of 24 games. So we have drawn more than half our competitive matches over the last 3 years. A run that started actually against Wales in the Aviva in 2017.
Right. I just wonder how many of those were 1-1s and how many were 0-0s, but that's one we can look up for later on. I don't know if you have that at your fingertips, but
I don't, but I could imagine majority of them were 0-0 or 1-1. Yeah. I can't remember. Yeah. Is it too many games where Ireland have been involved in high-scoring draws or even high-scoring games in general? Yeah. So look, it's onwards and upwards. Obviously, the 21s at the moment are going to be playing Italy on Tuesday night. What team will take the pitch? We don't know. Will there be a couple of call-ups from that's the senior team? It's probably more likely than to call out older players playing at higher levels of professional football. And then obviously, of course, the senior team are back out again on Wednesday night. Is it actually in Helsinki in Finland, or is it in a different venue, Gary?
No, it's in Helsinki, the newly revamped Olympic Stadium. So,
all right. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all that we have for here now. As I mentioned, Gary will have his own instant match reaction and talking points. Paul will likewise live from the Aviva and with his player reviews. So we'll get that all up across the evening, and that'll keep you entertained on this Sunday evening. I suppose that's all really left to say. Thanks for watching us. Hopefully be back again on Wednesday evening, and I hope you're all keeping safe out there in these uncertain times.
Okay, thanks guys. All the best, and we'll be back soon.
Cheers, Gary.
Cheers.